Coming up on today's show, we're going to look at 5 free agent targets for the Browns after signing Jadeveon Clowney, plus my Scooby-Doo mission on tracking Baker Mayfield. That's at the end of the show. But first, we are less than 80 subs away from reaching 9,000 subscribers. So go ahead and hit that big red button and subscribe if you want Browns news and rumors coverage throughout the entire offseason and into the season. Plus, we have live shows, including this Thursday. I got the time change. We're going a little later finally, so Thursday, 3 Central, 4 Eastern. Stay tuned for that. And also stay tuned for some shout-outs at the end of the show. So all that coming up and more on today's show. Let's get into the latest Browns news and rumors. Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Yours truly, Matthew Peterson here with 5 free agent targets after signing Jadeveon Clowney, or re-signing to that 1-year, $11 million contract. Now, I think there's a couple things we should get out in the open first. The first one, Browns OTAs start May 24th into the 26th. They're kind of chopped up a little bit. They go into early June as well. The reason why I point that out to everyone is because I think Andrew Berry, he wants to evaluate the roster, right? He wants to be in his athletic gear next to Stefanski in Berea, watching everyone practice and seeing who's who and how's everyone looking. You know what I mean? Before he goes out and signs a wide receiver or a defensive tackle, he wants to see how Jordan Elliott, Perrion Winfrey, Anthony Schwartz, DPJ look. And if they're not looking up to the part, then he might go out and go, all right, you know what? After seeing some real practice, yeah, I need to go make a move. But I want to at least see what my current roster looks like before I go out and bring someone else in. Now, someone else could look like Akiem Hicks, my first of 5 free agent targets. 32 defensive tackle, played for the Chicago Bears for the last couple of seasons before starting his career in New Orleans. And if you look at what he's done in Chicago with the Bears the last 4 years, a little up and down, but when it's up, he's one of the best defensive tackles, okay? Now, when you have to go back to 2018 to find his best season most recently, that's not a very good sign, right? He's had some injuries lately, 9 games in 2021, 5 in 2019. But if you've watched him play or if you've kept up with him, you know that he's one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. Well, he was one of the best defensive linemen. The question is he still that guy? You know, you're not that guy. I'm that guy. So that's, I think, where Akiem Hicks is right now. Now, the defensive line depth chart for the Browns is a little vulnerable. But on the same note, Jordan Elliott, Tommy Togiai, Taven Bryan, and Perrion Winfrey, the 4 big names right there. We have learned that Andrew Berry, he doesn't really value that position much. He skimped on it last offseason, and he's kind of going skinny on it again this offseason. But I think Andrew Berry goes, you know what? I can get some cheap guys who can keep me middle of the pack for run defense, and that's fine with me. We got more free agent targets to look at in just a moment. But first, do you think the Browns should sign someone at all? You know, is this a position, is this a need that you want to see addressed in free agency? Y for yes or N for no. We're keeping it on the defensive line for my second free agent target. It's been a popular name amongst all Browns fans online and whatnot. Ndamukong Suh, 35-year-old defensive tackle who has played with the Buccaneers for a little bit of time now, but a free agent in last season. You may not have expected someone who's in his mid-30s to be putting up 6 sacks, but that's what Suh has been able to do. And, in fact, if you combine his last 2 seasons, he's had 12 sacks altogether. Here's what I like a lot about Ndamukong Suh. He has been available his entire career. Now, he, granted, had some character issues. Let's put it that way. We all know what I'm talking about. Early on in his career. But he has never missed a game in his entire NFL career due to injury. In fact, the only 2 games he's ever missed, and you may remember this, was that Thanksgiving game against the Packers over 10 years ago where he stomped on Evan Dietrich Smith and got a 2-game suspension for it. Since then, I believe that Suh, and I think I'm not alone in this thought, has grown a ton, has become a leader amongst players in the locker room. But where I stand on Hicks and Suh, you know, bringing in older players, why not go young, is bring them in, see if they can play in training camp. You know, you can do the Sheldon Richardson treatment. If they don't look like they're in shape, or if they don't look like they can contribute much and you'd rather give those reps to a younger player like Jordan Elliott or Perrion Winfrey, then that's fine. Just cut them. But if you're looking, if I'm Andrew Berry and I'm standing and I'm watching OTAs this week and I'm going, our defensive line is not middle of the pack. It is bad. Why don't you bring Suh or Hicks in and see if they still got any juice left in the tank? So pick a defensive tackle for me. Put the initials for the player you like more down below in the comment section. You guys flooded the comment section the other day. That's what the shout-outs are for later on. But do it once again, AH for Hicks or NS for Suh. I lean a little towards Suh over Hicks. I like both of these players. I don't think you can get really that definitive about a free agent in May, but best ability is availability. And if you're looking at older free agents, why don't you look at someone who can at least play? You know what I mean? The last thing you want to do is bring Hicks in and he only plays 6 games for you. You know, why don't you go with a more sturdy player like Suh? My third free agent target is Will Fuller. Yeah, this is probably a name you thought would be coming your way when you clicked on today's show because he had an awesome connection with Deshaun Watson in Houston, former first-round pick out of Notre Dame who has struggled to play close to a full season. That's been his biggest knock. But when he was hooking up with Deshaun in Houston, yeah, he was awesome. 22 touchdowns in 33 games. Those aren't wide receiver 1 numbers, but for signing someone in the middle of May, you'll take that. His best season, actually, let's put it that way, was 2020, because last year he played like 10 snaps in Miami. But in 2020, 8 touchdowns in 11 games and 879 yards. Like, he is an awesome vertical threat who can stretch the field. And you've kind of got that with Anthony Schwartz and Donovan Peoples-Jones, who I bet Barry will be watching very closely at OTAs because both of those guys are deep threat players, but you're still early in both of their careers, right? But DPJ, you want to believe, will be a wide receiver too because he kind of looks like he has that in him. Anthony Schwartz last year looked awesome in the Chiefs game for a moment, and then we didn't see much of him after that. It's the hamstring injuries. And if you're a Speedy Gonzalez like he is, right? If you're a track star, which he is, an Olympic athlete, and Olympic speed, and you have hamstring injuries, that's concerning because the best dish you bring to the table is your speed. And if you have reoccurring hamstring injuries early in your career, you're giving me vibes of Julio Jones later in his career. You don't want to start that way, right? You want to finish that way, but not start your career like Julio Jones, the way he's ending it right now. But do you believe in Anthony Schwartz? B for believer or D for doubter? Where do you stand on this? Let me know in the comments section. And while you're down there, we've got a link to Deshaun Watson jerseys. Here's what I'm going to say to you. Do not put this off until August. If you want to go to the Mooney lot in a jersey that's not Baker Mayfield or OBJ, and you want to be repping number 4, get it at chatsports.com/Watson jersey. Links in the comments and the description. You know it's going to be back ordered, so get it in now. That way when it comes in the mail down the road, you're like, woo, sigh of relief, check that box. I'm ready to roll for week 2 at home against the Jets. Yeah, something like that. All right, moving on here. Fourth free agent target is Darren Fells, the tight end who has bounced around the league, but you remember him his brief stint in Cleveland where he played back in, 2018? So if you check out the depth chart here for the Cleveland Browns at the tight end position, it's a little thin after Njoku. You know what I mean? Like, I like Harrison Bryant. Was it the Ravens game he had a touchdown last season? So I've seen good flashes from him, but it's not like I'm ready to jump in bed with him being my second tight end on the roster. Ultimately, I think the Browns are looking for a big body tight end. You love to see trends happen in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Where one GM does this, and then all the GMs do that. Now you're seeing a trend of, hey, can we get some big frames, make them red zone targets, like when the Browns signed Marcos Santos Silva, the basketball player from Texas Tech. I think Darren Fells could be that for them, right? 6'7", big frame, older, but he's got some experience with Deshaun Watson. They linked up in Houston for 2 seasons, caught 11 touchdowns, 653 yards. Like, I know these numbers aren't super sexy, and he didn't do much last season, but when you're signing a tight end in the middle of May, once again, you're not going to get a home run player. But what do you think the Browns' biggest need is right now? You know what I'm saying? Is it tight end's kind of been slept on a little bit. We've talked a ton about wide receiver and defensive tackle, and there's a lot of confidence in Njoku with Deshaun Watson. So maybe Andrew Berry thinks, yeah, we can hold off a year, press pause on tight end 2, roll the dice on Harrison Bryant, and we can address this later down the road. I'll keep a tight end, though, for my 5th free agent target, Jared Cook. He's been an awesome. If you've had him in fantasy at some point, he's been one of those, I didn't draft a tight end early, but I waited for Cook in round 10, and it paid dividends. Because even last year, 564 yards, 4 touchdowns with the Chargers. He's been bouncing around the league for quite some time, played with the Saints, started his career off in Tennessee. Listen, guys, aside from Rob Gronkowski, this is the best tight end left. This is not a good tight end market. In fact, when is the tight end market really ever that good? There's like 5 to 7 players are good tight ends, and then you have like 3 to 5 players that you believe will be a good tight end this season. This is the best I got for you. But I like the idea of going with a tight end because I like adding some extra depth to that position when it's probably the least depth, right? Not a ton of depth behind Njoku in terms of proven talent. But those are my 5 free agent targets right there. Hicks, Suh, Fuller, Fells, and Cook. Who do you want the Browns to sign? Is it one of those 5 players, or is it someone else that I did not mention on today's show? Let me know down below in the comments section. My top player is Will Fuller. I know there's a lot of, let's go with desire to improve the defensive line, but I ultimately want to have a balance of what do I want / what I think Andrew Berry wants, because Andrew Berry doesn't give a shit what I want. We got to predict what he thinks. And if I'm going to go off what I've learned from him in free agency is he does not value the defensive tackle position all that much. He is happy to go with some veterans or maybe this year some younger guys and hope his run defense ranks 13 to 20th, somewhere in that range. All right, coming up though, Baker, was he spotted in Seattle? I may have gotten duped, but I want to share this story with everyone watching because it's kind of a fun story to ride along with. But first, in our video 2 videos ago, was it Friday? I put out a call saying, hey, we've got a competition going on here at Chat Sports. I'm looking for someone to comment 54 or more times, individual comments, to beat the record set by producer Jack's Tennessee Titans channel here. And wow, did you guys answer the call. It was impossible to keep up with the exact number, but here's everyone who broke the record. Chuck Woodrum, I think, set the record with well over 100, along with Ryan Chowdhury. I hope I pronounced that right. Peter R. is right there. Mitch McPherson and Jeffrey are constantly in the comment section. So shout out to you guys, along with Adam Bennell. And then 6 more people who broke the record of most comments on a video. Old Man Drizzit, Dr. Crew, Darius Garland. Really hope you don't get traded. Bleacher Report really does. I don't know why. Repulsive Gravity also had a super thanks, which is when you hit that little heart icon with the $sign emoji. So shout out to Repulsive Gravity, the MVP of these record holders, for the little tip to my dog's toy foundation. Brady Morrison and Lucci, shout out to you two as well for breaking the record on a video just the other day. All right, let's wrap up the show, though, with this interesting wild goose hunt I went on about Baker Mayfield. So let me paint the picture a little bit. On Sunday, before Clowney got signed, I'm on Instagram, and I see Emily Mayfield post a picture with Baker, and it says impromptu road trip. And it's like, okay, whatever, no big deal. But then I thought, well, if you look closely, you can see there's a bar stool behind the two of them, and it's got a sticker on it. So I zoomed in on the sticker, and I could actually make out most of the letters. It didn't take that long. It took like 15, 20 seconds. So I Googled that. All right, and here's what I tweeted out. Nothing to see here, right? I included the picture of Emily Mayfield's post saying, oh, what's that in the seat, though? Snowtown Brewery? What's Snowtown Brewery? So I Googled it. Thought maybe it was near Austin. Chat Sports, we're located in Dallas. Maybe it's somewhere nearby. I can go say hi. But it's outside of Seattle. Oh, okay. That's quite the road trip from Austin, where Baker lives, to Seattle, right? It's not much of an impromptu road trip. What else could Baker Mayfield be doing in Seattle? So then I started to connect some dots, but then Clowney got re-signed, so that got shelved for a little bit, but then it resurfaced later on. So he didn't go there, I'm 99% sure, because someone else pointed out, well, I Googled what Snowtown Brewery looks like, and that's the inside of it. Let's go back to the picture Emily Mayfield posted really quickly. because you can kind of make out the background and they don't look that similar. In fact, if you look at the cup that Baker's holding, that's like a pint glass. They do jars at Snowtown Brewery up in Seattle. And so probably not where he was, but it is close to Seattle. In fact, I did my little Scooby-Doo research, and not too far out northeast of the city. But I think my career as an investigative journalist is over because a lot of people ran with it. So shame on everyone who thought, fake news just because you read it on the internet doesn't mean it's true. But yeah, a lot of people pointed out, and I realized this too, that people at breweries have stickers all over of other breweries they get beers from. They do swaps and whatnot. So that's 99% chance what it is. I can't say definitively because I'm not with the Mayfields on their road trip, but it was a fun ride, Shag, Fred, the whole gang was in the Mystery Machine. It was just not the end result we would have liked. Follow me on Twitter, though, if you love Scooby-Doo researching, because I can promise more of that for you. Hit me up at Matthew Petey. Appreciate all everyone that clicked on today's video. I'm going to see you guys later, though, with more Browns news and rumors.